And we are live. It is exactly 4 p.m. on Thursday. I'm going to get the date right. The 3rd of April 2025. How is everybody doing? We are live on X, on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. If you don't know us, my name is Ross. This is producer Petch. Together, we run actonthis.tv. If you're an actor and you want to earn more money out of your career, you want to actually learn the business of the business, you want to start auditioning for the shows, you want to land parts in, you want to know how to land those parts, and you want to hang out every single week with the biggest casting directors, agents, actors, writers, directors, and producers in TV, get over to actonthis.tv. Come and join the membership. After this, though, stick around, because we've got loads to discuss, Petch, haven't we? How are you, mate? Are you feeling positive or what?
I am super excited about what's coming up. Do you know what? To be fair, like I was round at your house last night doing a self-tape with you. So yes. I know that the industry is booming again. So yeah, this year's going to be absolutely amazing. I can't wait.
And it is self-tapes that we are talking about today, because there's a load of stuff going around, folks, right? And I try not to be controversial, Petch, right? Because I don't like drama. I don't like it. Honestly, right? I don't like drama. I don't like conflicts, right? But I have to sort of speak up when I just see fear and negativity being flung around the industry for absolutely no reason by people who I can only suggest that they're maybe not in a good place. They're not feeling great, hurt people. We know try and hurt people. They want to complain about stuff when things aren't going right. And I've just seen more and more stuff recently that is just from a really negative place that has no factual foundation in it. That's just basically not true, folks, right? We did a live just a few weeks ago, Petch. We've not been live for a couple of weeks, actually, have we? No. On YouTube. We've been dead busy behind the scenes on Acts On This, but we'll talk about that in a bit. We've got loads of great stuff coming up. But we did a live dissecting an article that someone published basically saying there's a cash crisis in the UK film and TV industry. It's going down. The BBC are panicking. Oh my God, it's over. And we brought the article up, and you can watch that. It's on our YouTube channel. We debunked the whole thing and just showed you how much it basically contradicted itself and how it was based in absolutely no fact whatsoever. And in fact, the opposite was quite true. ITV had their biggest, they doubled their profits from 200 million to over $500 million last year. Netflix had their biggest year ever when it came to commissioning. So did Amazon in 2024. There's so much production going on in 2025. If you're an actor, you're good, you're proactive and you're prepared to put the work in, you will get work this year. Petch just said, we've had more self-tapes this year, so many more already than in 2024. The industry is really picking up. So we would love your input today. If people are joining us, please, if the conversation is going to be over on our YouTube channel, basically. So if you go to youtube.com/actonthistv, that's the main place where we bring you people's comments up on the screen. So do come and hang out, and we can, bring your comments and your opinions up on the screen. If you disagree with us, that's totally cool. I'm not a dictator. I'm going to give you my opinions. If you think, they're not right, I'm totally open to having a discussion on this today. And so, yeah, youtube.com/actonthistv. And if you watch on the replay, still leave us comments as well. Would love to know your opinions. Before we bring this article up, Petch, anything that you wanna say before we dive into this? I'm going to bring this Guardian article up that's got people in a bit of a spin.
Nothing really that I want to say. Samantha Cull here said it's definitely picking up. So
yes,
that's worth bringing up.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's honestly, I'm feeling really optimistic. And every week at Acts On This, if you've never been a member of our community before, we sit down literally with the biggest names in the game, week in, week out. And every single casting director we've had on, probably for the last 6 months, has been so optimistic and said things are are busy for them as well. There's been some casting directors we've had on from Louise Kiley's office, Karen Scully. I'm going to play some clips out of her later. They were juggling 7 projects earlier this year when Karen was on. We've got a casting director on, Jade McCabe, this time next Thursday, isn't it? Currently, she's got 5 projects on that she's going to be talking about. It is busy, so get optimistic. Stop listening to this nonsense.
Or is it Tuesday?
Thursday, because we did Tuesday this week with Peter, so I think it's Thursday.
Are we not down at the big jam?
No, Thursday the 10th. Thursday the 10th. It's the day before. The jam's on the Saturday. So yeah, it's definitely Thursday. Check the schedule out. No, it's definitely Thursday. Definitely Thursday. You can go to actonthis.tv/live if you want to check out the schedule, of course, coming up, folks. Right, so let me share my browser with you. I'm actually going to read you this article because it's not that long, but let us know if you've seen this as well, right? And let us know just your thoughts initially on self-tapes. Do you enjoy them? Do you feel that you get a bit more freedom with them? Do you prefer them to being in the room? Are you a technophobe, so you don't like tapes? You do prefer being in the room? There's pros and cons to it.
Before you go on that, I want to bring up this. Tammy Heath has just said, hi, guys, but from LinkedIn, so you can even leave comments on LinkedIn and we can bring them up.
We've got a link
from LinkedIn.
we've got a LinkedIn comment. If you're watching on LinkedIn, get yourself involved on LinkedIn as well. Follow Act On This, and link in with me as well. And Petch is on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, Ross Grant, Lee Petcher, aka Petch. Link in with us on LinkedIn as well. So it's a decent place to network for our industry. Right. So this is this article basically, folks. It's on The Guardian. I mean, it's got a sensational headline straight away. It's soul-destroying. Actors' fury over the rise of self-tape auditions. I mean, straight away, I'm like, it's just clickbait, right? It's over-sensationalized. It's very negative. It's not true. And I get it, Dalia Alberge, who's the author, they've got to do their job, haven't they? They've got to get people reading, so they're going to want to play on negativity because it sells more than positivity. So I'm not blaming the author of this. They're probably not an actor. They're probably not in the industry, and they're just going off some negative people from Equity. Don't like to slate the union again, but I've been doing that a lot recently. I pay my subs, but Equity, I feel you just need to do better at inspiring your members and spreading some positivity to make people actually feel like they can do this. That's our job, Petch. That's what we do a lot. But I just feel like our own union is basically just battering us every week with nonsense. I'd love to have Equity on, have a chat. Totally, very kind chat. No conflict. But I don't agree with so much of the stuff you're putting out right now, if I'm honest. So it says here, Equity Union says filming scenes at home amounts to unpaid labour and reinforces elitism. I think that's a load of nonsense straight away, just to be honest with you. And we're going to actually show you some stuff that Equity published on their website that actually says the complete opposite as well. So I don't know where you actually stand on it, Equity, because you're contradicting yourself from the off here. But let's read more. I'm going to read you all of this, okay?
In your best voiceover voice.
I'm going to give you some... Oh, God, we did a great session on voiceover with voiceover man, Peter Dixon, Alexandra Buck from The X Factor. No, we didn't do it with Alexandra Burke. Peter Dixon was the announcer on The X Factor, and he was brilliant. I'll play a clip of that out later. But yeah, if you want to get into voiceover, we've got a fantastic session for you. So this is a picture here of an actor called Hal Morgan in his garage, which he turned into a studio in which to film all of his auditions. So we're going to hear a bit more from Hal. He's got some opinions on this as well. So it says actors seeking their next role are now routinely asked to self-tape their auditions, a practice that amounts to unpaid labour and reinforces elitism in the creative industries, the union Equity has warned. Give us your opinions on that initially, folks. It's bollocks. Before the COVID lockdowns, self-tapes were a fallback for anyone unable to make an in-person casting, for example, if they were working abroad. But during the pandemic, they became the norm and have remained so ever since, right? And I agree with that completely. They were kind of a thing that were done in America particularly. They came over here a bit, but UK productions would sometimes get Americans to tape if they were in America, so they didn't have to travel, vice versa. They were happening before COVID, but, I said that dreaded word. They were happening before that time. Don't think you'd like to say it on YouTube or you get limited. But they were happening at that time. But they weren't that common, right? But they were a saviour for the industry during that time. So they were a very positive thing from the off, really, when they became mainstream. It says here, actors are spending hours, even days, creating them, often paying for equipment or studios to film in, and generally never hearing back. A spokesperson for Equity, which described self-tapes as unpaid labour, said this is reinforcing the class issue and elitism within the industry. I don't know how, but we'll maybe hear from them later on that. Equity says that the guidelines on self-tapes are not being heeded by the industry, and it's having a huge impact on performers' lives. The guidelines state that actors should not be expected to learn more than 6 pages for a first self-tape and should not be asked to rearrange their home as though it were a set. Hal Morgan, and listen to this, right? Remember this next line. Hal Morgan, an actor and Equity counsellor who has appeared in Gentleman Jack and Slow Horses, 2 very big shows, said he knows of performers who have had to memorise as many as 12 pages of dialogue for self-tapes. I mean, that's quite anecdotal, innit? And I imagine that's very, very rare. I don't, and I speak to actors, dozens of them a week, right? One actor was asked for a self-tape, even though the part involved just 16 words. That's a dream of a self-tape. It's an absolute easy peasy self-tape, that. And we
if
know
it's for Hollyoaks, that's £1,000.
Yeah. 14 words in Hollyoaks will get you £1,000, one of the most best paid serial dramas out there. So if I got a self-tape of 16 words that I could knock out in 20 minutes and potentially get £1,000 for it, very highly paid. So it says, and another was asked to tape themselves nodding because that was all that was required for the role. Why are you complaining about that? What a dream of a self-tape. Well, you get on tape and just nod for me and I might give you a job worth hundreds or thousands of pounds. Morgan added, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to bad practice in the industry. Now the first round of auditions is all being done on self-tapes. And casting directors are requesting upwards of 200 self-tapes for a single part. I think that's absolute nonsense. I would love to know where that's come from, because I'm going to play you clips out. I interview casting directors every week who cast the biggest things in this industry. I have never, in 15 years of running this website, heard of a casting director saying that they will request upwards of 200 self-tapes. And I will play you out today on this broadcast multiple casting directors that cast high-end drama, big dramas with multi-million-pound budgets, who will tell you exactly how many tapes they're requesting. It's nowhere near 200. I mean, like, it's not even 10% of that in most cases. So I'd love to know where Hal got that from, and if it's just a one-off statistic, it's being sensationalised. This article is, again, it's nonsense, right? He argued that it's unreasonable to send actors 6 huge scenes with loads of dialogue and expect them to learn that for initial audition. Now, I agree with that. Hal, is it? Yeah, Hal. I agree with him on that, right? But I don't think it's happening. I don't think that actors are regularly being sent 6 huge scenes with loads of dialogue and expect them to learn them for an initial audition. I've got lots of friends who are working at the top of TV and they're auditioning again for the biggest projects out there. Most of them are getting 2 two-page scenes for that initial audition. It's generally more than one scene. It's not just a 2-pager. You know, the role that I auditioned for last night. And we'll show you a still from that tape as well, because I want to kind of like, reassure people that you can film self-tapes that look good on a budget. You don't need loads of money. But it's only 2 pages, Petch, wasn't it? It took us, how long did it take us? An hour?
If that.
And that was learning the lines as well. So we were learning the lines as we were setting up the kit, running the lines a couple of times. And then Petch directed me really well last night, mate. You made me answer a lot of questions that made me think a lot about the script. But even then, the whole thing took us about an hour. And if I get the job, it's worth thousands of pounds. It's worth my time, right? Anyway, let's carry on. It says, one actor who asked to remain anonymous, and they always do this when I think they're making it up. They always do this. They love to say an unknown source or one actor. It doesn't tell you who. They did this in that last article, Petch. You remember about the BBC? Yeah. And one production company. No, well, if they're that adamant on a viewpoint, tell me who it was, because you're making it up. Because if someone really believed it, they'd stand by it. Everything I say in this broadcast, I stand by, and you can quote me on it as long as it's in context. You don't clip a little bit that makes me sound dodgy, right? I'd be happy for my name to be put to this if I had a strong opinion on something, you know? So I hate it when they do this. One actor who has to remain anonymous said she had made 50 self-tapes in the past year alone. Not one led to any work, despite a track record of roles in major productions. Something is very wrong there. I don't think that's true. I think they've made this actress up. But if that is true, my heart goes out to that actress, because doing 50 self-tapes in a year and not landing one, something is massively wrong. Either one, your self-tape game is nowhere near good enough. Like, you know, it's either your craft. I'm sorry, it just is, right? It's either you're not good on tape, you've not learned how to tape, your technical skill is not very good, or your agent, if these auditions are through an agent, your agent is throwing you at every single project out there, hoping something sticks, and all of these auditions are not actually your casting type. There's no way that if you're not booking 1 in 50 tapes, something's massively wrong, man.
But also, 50 tapes in a year, that's...
One a week.
1 a week.
Yep.
Barring, like, Christmas and New Year. 1 a week. Like, who would say no to 1 self-tape a week?
Well, this is it. It's almost like you can't win. Oh, we're not getting any takes, Here's 1 a week. I don't want 1 a week. I'm not getting any of them. What do you want, then? What do you want? And if you're not getting 1 out of 50, I'm sorry, the reality is, and I mean it with kindness and love, right? We need to go back to the drawing board and go, hang on a minute, what kind of performances are you putting in and what level of technical ability do you have? Because you don't need an incredible technical ability to do a good-looking self-tape, right? And we can help you with that. I'm going to show you the kit that I use in a bit. You can go and download the kit list. I'll show you what it looks like. It's not expensive, for a couple of £100. Yes, I know that's a bit of an investment. It's a bit of a chunk of change, that, but you'll get 10 years out of that kit. Works out like 20 quid a year, right? If you're going to be in this game long term, it's not a big investment over years. If you're serious about this and you want to make it your career. So there's a problem for me that I'm like 50 self tapes. You're either going for very low quality work where they're just inviting every man and his dog to self tape for it. Your agent's putting you forward for stuff that is not remotely in your casting bracket, or you need to up your game when it comes to your craft and your presentation of those tapes, right? I don't think that's typical at all. So I would get it if that is the case. Apparently this anonymous person said it's soul destroying. She said the industry is a beast, but this is actually adding insult to injury. I'd be interested to know how many of those 50 auditions she would have got if she'd have gone in the room, though, because would her performance have been any better?
I also want to know how many of those auditions she would have got going into the room, as in, like, would she have been seen in the room for those 50?
Maybe wouldn't have even got an opportunity to be seen for those 50 projects. It doesn't sound like it sounds too insane that it's real, to be honest with you. I think that's why it's an anonymous person. It's potentially just been made up to sensationalize this article. I'm sure journalists probably do that. I'd probably do it if I was a journalist going, I need more people to read my stuff, man. Particularly in traditional media, newspapers like this are struggling, because people don't get the news, generally speaking, from traditional legacy outlets anymore. So it says here, another actor spoke of devoting between 6 and 8 hours to each self-tape. My God. Adding, over the past 12 months, I've done 280 hours of unpaid work. It's totally unfair, but it's become standard for casting directors to submit a wide range of self-tapes to producers. Well, I've got some actual real footage to play out of a great casting director talking about this. I don't think that's true either. I think a lot of this is hearsay. We'll just hear, basically, folks. Go on.
Can I just say here as well, like 280 hours of unpaid work of like self-tapes, right? That's an audition. If you were to go into the room for those self-tapes, that is still unpaid. You're not getting paid to go into audition unless it's a recall fee.
Yeah,
right?
And you've got your travel, and you've got food potentially out of the house if you have to travel and you don't want to make something to take with you. That's more expensive when coffees these days are £6. It's ludicrous at the moment how much like a brew is.
You've got 6 to 8 hours. You're giving yourself that. Like, no one's forcing that upon you, but you've got 6 to 8 hours to make that self-tape the best that it can be. You go in the room, you get 5 minutes if you're lucky.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, for a decent role, you'd get 20 minutes max. And that's really what you get. Even for the big stuff, you'd get 20 minutes with a director and a casting director. So, like if you're putting 6 to 8 hours in, again, I'd be like, I don't know. I tape regularly. Admittedly, not for massive roles. Roles that I tape for are maybe a couple of episodes. They're not lead roles, of course they're not. I would love it if they were. That would be worth putting the 8 hours in. But if I was putting 8 hours in, it would be for one of those roles. I can't see how you can put 8 hours into a regular guest role in a show. If it's 2, 4, even 6 pages of script, it feels a bit unnecessary. So some actors who lack technical skills on lighting and editing, or live with noisy children or flatmates, are paying up to £150 for professional help with self-tapes. Morgan is among actors who has spent thousands on equipment and has turned his small garage into a makeshift studio. He's self-taped for Slow Horses and Gentleman Jack. That's what I wanted you to remember before. He got those jobs. He's been on Slow Horses, a massive show, and Gentleman Jack. The minimum that guy's getting, even if he's got one line on that show, is £2,500. So that would be £5,000 back from those 2 self-tapes. And he says he spent thousands on equipment in his garage. I don't know how many thousands it looks like he spent there. Does it look like he's got thousands and thousands of kit? I don't know, maybe a couple of grand if it depending on his camera.
Yeah,
but you don't need all that though. His setup there is unnecessary as well. But if he's got, this is the thing, he's complaining about self-tapes, and yet he self-taped and he got the job on Slow Horses and Gentleman Jack. So again, it's contradictory. What do you want? Maybe you wouldn't have been seen for those roles had you not been able to tape, because maybe they would have only seen 3 people for those roles and they saw 5. Maybe you were one of the extra 2. You know, I don't know this guy's work, and I'm not slating anybody. Please don't think I'm being unkind. I just think articles like this are quite dangerous in terms of they're very demotivating, and they will make you feel like the industry is against you, and it isn't. I speak to incredible casting directors every week who are beautiful souls who just want you to win. And when I see stuff like this, I'm like, oh my God, there's another few actors who are uninformed. I mean that again in a nice way. You know, who don't speak to casting directors every week. You know, who might read this and then just feel completely deflated and just be like, oh yeah, okay, right, everything's against me. I've got to go and spend £150 to get someone to film my self-tape. You don't. You absolutely don't. You know, that's just absolute nonsense. You can film these tapes on your phone. If you have no lights, just in decent daylight, as long as we can see you and hear you and your performance is good, you absolutely stand the chance. Mm-hmm. The volume of self-tapes is also a concern for actors who do not believe all the tapes are being watched. There's often no way to tell if a tape is being watched, and follow-up calls are generally fruitless. So I sent my self-tape last night to the casting team at a particular show. I sent it via WeTransfer. I got a notification this morning saying my agent had downloaded that tape and the casting office had downloaded that tape. That's all I need to know. Whether they watch it or not, I'll never know. But they downloaded it. So I presume in good faith they asked me to tape because they thought I was good enough for the job, so that somebody will watch it, right? But that is the reality.
Casting directors that we've had on say that they watch them all anyway.
Every single one. This is what I mean. I mean, they're not going to say, no, we don't watch them, are they? But what would be the point in wasting their time asking you for a tape that they're not going to watch? It makes no sense. Again, this is sort of like catastrophizing and hearsay, because it just says actors who do not believe all the tapes are being watched. Well, is that because you didn't book one of the 50 jobs you went for? It doesn't mean they're not watching them. You just might not have been good enough. I'm sorry. You know, that just might be the case. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily not good enough performance-wise. You just might not have fitted looks-wise, or you might have the wrong hair colour in the end, or, you know, whatever. We can't just get, like, blame. Oh, it's so terrible. Everything's against me. So it says here, there's often no way to tell if a self-tape has been watched, and follow-up calls are generally fruitless. One actor said, why are they making us do all the work when we know they're possibly not going to watch more than 2 minutes? Most tapes aren't as long as 2 minutes for most small roles. I've seen casting directors on social media say, I've had such a tough day. I looked at 150 self-tapes for a role. Now, Petch, you actually tried to find that quote, or you even searched, you searched on X before for 150 self-tapes.
I searched that whole quote as well.
Couldn't find it anywhere.
In fact, no, I found it from a guy who had retweeted or reposted this article. As its post on top of it, but that's the only thing I found of it.
So we've got no evidence of who it was. You know, I've seen casting directors, plural, on social media say, I had such stuff there. I've seen 150 self-tapes. I've interviewed nearly every casting director in TV and casting assistant and casting associate over the years. Not all casting assistants and associates, actually. There's lots more in the industry now. But most of the main casting directors, not a single one's told me that they're watching 150 self-tapes for one role. You know, maybe that would be across 10 roles, but not one role. Since last year, Equity has been negotiating TV and film contracts with PACT, the trade association representing independent UK producers. That's great. Kathy Sweet, Equity's head of film and TV, said it raised the self-taping problem with PACT in May 2024, adding, we hoped PACT would have been quicker to resolve this and are putting pressure on it to come back to us. Max Rumney, PACT's deputy chief executive, said producers are sympathetic for actors' concerns, and that a scattergun approach to casting does not benefit anyone. The Casting Directors Guild said, our self-tape guidelines align with Equity, who were in regular contact with. We have been working very hard to make sure that actors are not sent lengthy audition scenes with as much time to prepare as possible and given feedback on progress. We respect the process of the actor hugely and continue to encourage our members to closely follow the guidelines. It would make no sense whatsoever for casting directors to basically not be doing a good job of all of this stuff, because it's not within their interest to waste their time to ask for stuff that isn't getting watched, to ask for too many actors to tape, you know, for no reason. I just think the whole article is sensationalized scaremongering, and it's just one of those things that people will read the headline of on X or on Instagram or whatever, and they'll copy it to their stories, they'll repost it, and then it just ends up in this echo chamber, and it's just not true. So what I want to do is, we'll bring up the self-tape guidelines for Equity in a minute, but what I want to do, I would love to show people some clips, Petch, from our interviews about actually what self-tapes, you know, are in the industry, like how they're being treated by casting directors, what casting directors think of them, from the horse's mouth, not hearsay through an article, anonymous people who don't want to put their name to anything, and just things that actors believe.
just before you do that, the thing that that's like the third time I've read that article there. And the thing that's coming up to me now on the third reading is it's very much, they're making it out to be very much them against us. Like everybody is out to get at actors and they're having a laugh at actors and we're putting actors through all this, and it's not the case. This is a very collaborative industry. Everybody needs to work well with each other, so it wouldn't, like you said there, benefit anybody for them to make actors jump through hoops and play games with them with self-tapes. Like, why would they waste their time?
Well, the industry, like, time is money in this industry, and like serious money as well. There's millions of dollars, millions of pounds go into these productions. You know, casting directors, get paid quite well. They really, for the decent jobs, they get paid really, really well. They wouldn't, waste their time.
No one's sitting there
and
going,
the resources that they
today?
have.
What would be funny today is if we sent this out to 200 actors.
Let's get 200 actors in who are completely unsuitable for this role. Let's ask them to tape, and then we'll just not watch any of it. What would be the point? Like, they have got a budget to spend on casting. They wouldn't waste it. They're getting really well paid for their job, so they will take it seriously. They will have pride in it. They want to do a good job for the producers and the directors. They're not going to bring in people either in the room or via self-tape who just aren't, right for roles. If you get a tape, you stand the chance if you do a really good job. So I've got some clips here, Petch, just from our sessions. So basically, if you've never seen Act On This.tv before, we sit down literally every week. We host private Zoom calls for our members. It's incredibly affordable. I wanted to basically bring the biggest names in the game into your homes. You don't have to travel anywhere. We'll bring the guests to you. And we hold mastermind sessions, really breaking down casting directors' offices, who's in their team, how you can get in touch with them. They will give their email addresses out. They will tell you how to send your show reel over, what they want to see on your spotlight, what they don't want to see. Ultimately, taking all the guesswork out of it. And our members who follow up with our casting directors who we get on, they send their show reels over, their spotlights over, land rolls. Tammy, I can see you in the chat here. You just put in our Facebook group that you emailed the casting director. Was it today or yesterday? And you've now got an audition. Just, you don't tell us what it is or anything that's private or anything like that, but just leave us a comment just so that people know that that's true. I'm not just making this up. Our members and myself and Petch, we do this all the time. We're constantly sending stuff out, making connections with casting directors, associates, assistants. When you join our community, obviously you learn how to sell yourself properly in a really solutions-focused, useful way to these people. You don't have to rely on chance, powerful other people, or solely an agent to get you work. You can do this for yourself, if you learn how this industry really works. So I'm going to... it was yesterday, Tammy said.
Yesterday.
And Tammy, just how long was it? You sent an email out, and how long was it until you got the self-tape? Was it maybe you sent an email out a couple of weeks ago, or was it literally same day? That happens sometimes. That can happen. Lightning can kind of strike. But let us know, Tammy. It would be amazing to know that. And best of luck. I really hope you smash that. You smash that tape. I'm going to take some graphics off the screen, so not to interrupt these videos. Let me just get rid of that header. I'll take us off as well, Petch. And I'm going to start with a top comedy casting director called Catherine Willis. Catherine Willis casts massive stuff, like things like Alma's Not Normal, huge comedies. Not just comedy, but she's really very well known for comedy. Catherine's a lovely person. She's been on Act On This multiple times. There's a session with her, a 2-hour session in the members area right now. She breaks down her team, her casting process, how she casts stuff, and this is just her opinion on tapes. And again, how it's bringing more opportunity. And at the end of playing these clips out, I'm going to show you on Equity's site how they actually agree it brings more opportunity.
The next morning, Tammy said.
The next morning, yeah. Tammy, and fair play to you. Tammy's part of First TV Roll Fast Track. It's a program we run. We teach people how to do this properly. And it just works, Tammy. I swear to God, keep doing it. Good for you. Keep doing it. And, I cannot wait until you get that job and then you post, nailed it. And I got it, because it will be worth you doing that tape, Tammy. That tape that might take you an hour could bag you $2-3 grand, depending on the size of the role. But they're the small roles, Even on a serial drama, that tape, if it was one line in Corrie, probably £500-600. One line in Hollyoaks, £1,000. It's so worth it. I've done 4 tapes this year where I've had the decision back. 3 were no's, 1 was a yes. That was £2,100. So on average, I'm like, well, hang on. If I break that down, I've earned £500 per self-tape. Did a self-tape with you last night, Petch. That's out in the ether now. Maybe I'll get a yes or a no from that. I don't know. If I get it, that's going to be thousands. That would put my average up probably to like £1,000 a self-tape. You've got to look at it like this. You can't look at it as every no. Well, that's negative forever. It's not. One self-tape, 1 out of 5 can make all the 4 no's worthwhile. 1 out of 10 can. That poor anonymous person who got none out of 50. I just don't. I just don't know what you're doing something majorly wrong if you can't get one job out of 50.
Let's play this clip.
Sorry, I'm going off on one. Right, I'm taking us off screen, Petch. People will be bored of my voice. I'm going to play this clip from Catherine Willis. I'm going to get rid of you, Petch. I'm going to get rid of myself. Here's just a little bit from Catherine.
Some actors love it and some actors hate it, but the evolution of the self-tape means that I can see more people. You know, if I've got a director for 3 hours and I need to cast 4 parts, I can only see a maximum of 3 people for each of those parts. And I have to know that each of those people is going to come in. And if they're not quite right, they at least nail the audition and are in the ballpark. Whereas if it's with me on a Zoom with no director, or even with a director, I carry on and I might see 3 people I know, and then I'll just sneak in 2 I don't know. And then I'm like, oh, I've just met 2 new people.
So not 200, Petch. Catherine will be like, I'll invite 3 people in, but actually, if I was in the room, that'd be 3 people. On tape, maybe I'll sneak another 2 in. So Catherine's like, yeah, 5 tapes per roll, not 200, right?
A bit of a difference.
Yeah, it's actually 2.5% of what they were alluding to in that article. You know, they were suggesting she's seen 97.5% more. Well, no, it's not, is it? It's infinitely more than two. You know, it's 2.5% of that total number is the actual reality of, you know, in Catherine's office, one of the biggest casting offices in the game. Let's have a look at Jill Trevellick's office next. Jill Trevellick is the casting director who's now Emmy nominated and BAFTA nominated. I was well happy for her for that. She was Emmy nominated for Downton Abbey, and she's now been BAFTA nominated for Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. Again, there's a 2-hour session with Jill in our members area, breaking down her entire process, how you can reach out to her. We give her email address away. Be like Tammy, dive at the members area, watch that session, send your stuff over. Jill's casting what is now going to be the next Downton Abbey, basically. It's not called Downton Abbey. It's another massive period drama for ITV. Can't tell you anything about it because it's under wraps, but that's Jill's project that she's doing literally right now. Let's see what Jill has to say. Get rid of us again, Paige.
First round was self-tapes. I mean, I never get too many people to self-tape because I think it's just unfair. But I also like to give people, you know, a chance who I would possibly not feel too confident about bringing into a room with a director, simply because I didn't know their work well enough. It is an opportunity to open the gates a bit wider, you know, and let more people have a go. And certainly on Babies, which is a massive cast, I think it's a cast of about 72 altogether. I haven't actually added up how many of the cast I didn't know before the casting process, but I would have thought it's at least 50%. I would show, for the bigger supporting roles, maybe as many as 10, 12 actors. For the smaller roles, probably more like half a dozen. So if you get to do a self-tape for me, you know, you stand a reasonable chance of getting the role.
So, you know, 10 tapes max for Jill, mostly half a dozen for the smaller roles. And Abby, I can see you on Instagram. You were saying that you prefer in the room because you can get redirection and stuff. I'm going to play a clip out if you stay on this broadcast from a great casting director who will actually give people direction on their tapes if they feel they need it and get them to retape. You got to remember that everyone's in the same boat when it comes to this first round of tapes. We all have limited information on the role, on the script. You know, we have to obviously use our own knowledge of the craft and ourselves and our understanding of acting and interpretation to give our best shot at that. But everyone's in the same boat, and that's why recalls come in after that. If they can see something in your initial performance, it doesn't have to be right. You don't have to get it exactly as they want it. If they can see you've got ability, they'll go, yeah, you know what, Abby, you've done a really good job of that tape. It's not quite what we wanted, but we can see you've got ability. Now we'll bring you in for a recall, and that's when you're in the room. You know, these self-tapes are just the first round gateway, basically, to getting in the room if it's for a larger role. Some stuff will just be cast off tape. I just did a job for the BBC called Daddy Issues, a comedy. Amy Lee Wood, David Morris is in it, great people. And I did it off a tape. Petch, you helped me with that. And I put that role directly off a tape. There was no recall because it was only a small role. So, again, I didn't have to leave the house. I didn't have to spend any money travelling. I didn't have to go out to London. I could do it in my own time. We had a good laugh doing it, but it was good, wasn't it? That's the thing as well, right? If you're actors, this is something as well. You should be enjoying this. It shouldn't be all pressurized and like, if I have to get this, otherwise, you know, I feel a complete failure and a letdown. We did this tape last night, and it was a good laugh. It was like, you know, it was 2 sides. It was 2 pages. There's a few chunks of dialogue for me. We learned it as we're sort of like setting it up. We ran it a few times. We got the lines down. And what was nice about it, Petch got me if you've got a good, in terms of direction, Abby, as well, and anyone who's thinking about direction, if you've got a good reader, whether they're on Zoom with you or not, you can be on Zoom, they can read in with you on Zoom, or they can be in the room. If you've got a good reader as well, and if you don't, try and find one. Like, try and find an actor who will read for you and you'll read for them. Make a little swap. If you've got a good, good actor, they can give you decent direction. Petch, you probably spent more time with me than a director would last night. I don't think I would have got an hour with a director in the room. And you made me justify every single line and every decision and thought I was thinking on each of those lines.
Mm-hmm. We even found something in the text where you were like, actually, now that makes sense.
Yeah. Because you were getting me to question stuff that I wouldn't normally question, and maybe a director wouldn't, maybe they would have come up with different direction. Ultimately, I think we got a really good product out of it at the end. My agent sent me a message this morning saying it was a lovely tape, really happy with it. I can see the casting team have downloaded it. The casting assistant sent me an email going, "Hey Ross, thanks for this. We've downloaded it. Just let you know." They're doing the best, guys. They don't want to keep you in the dark. They don't want to purposely keep you guessing, and they're not against you. Like, let's just make Ross suffer. Honestly, articles like this are just bullshit. It's just not true. It's sell clicks.
It's very similar to what Bryan Cranston was saying, and I'm going to butcher whatever, like, I can't say verbatim for what he said, but it's like, your audition is a chance for you to perform. So you may not get another chance that week. You may not be in a show. You may not be in a theatre production. This may be the only chance you get to act this week or this month, so relish it for everything that it's worth. You're an actor. We're actors, right? This is what we want to do. So even if it is just a self-tape, it's a self-tape. It's an opportunity for you to practice your craft and show. You don't need to get it right, like you were saying there. It's not about giving the perfect performance. It's about, this is me. This is how I would portray that role. And whether you get it or not, that's none of your business, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, you've just got to go to it and going, this is how I would give you this role. And maybe that's right for your vision, maybe it's not right for your vision. And if it's not, fine. Then you move on to the next one. But yeah, like, really relish the opportunity to perform.
There really is no right and wrong. We had a great actor on, BAFTA-nominated actor called Babu Cisse once, and he said, basically, he went into the room once. This wasn't on a tape. He went into a room, although he was talking, his advice on tapes is brilliant as well. Brilliant. But he went into the room and he said, he said to the director, listen, right, I know you probably want it this way, because that's the obvious way to read this, but I don't agree. I think it should be done a different way. Can I show you? And he said the director really sort of like flipped him off a bit and was like, oh, go on then, whatever. Like, he just, wasn't really giving any time of day, was it? Yeah, what was it?
Him the bird.
yeah, it was a bit like, yeah, whatever. And Babu smashed this performance, and then the director said, wow, after I saw it that way, I couldn't see it another way. Mm-hmm. So don't always go with the obvious, or like, if you can do, if it's dead straightforward, just make it straightforward. If you've got a procedural self-tape where you say one line, those 16 words, and it's to carry the story on, and it's really straightforward, don't make a meal out of it. You won't get the job then. You blend in and just, move the story forwards. But if you've got a definitive opinion on something, don't worry about it being right or wrong. Just give them a bit of you, and they'll respect it anyway. And as I say, if it's not quite what they wanted, but they can see ability, they'll get you in for a recall after that. I got a recall for a film called CC Emily that's out later this year, I think. And we were like, why am I being seen for this, weren't we, Petch? The brief was like late 40s, early 50s caretaker. I was like, we'll do the tape anyway. Let's do the tape anyway. But I was like, I don't think this is right for me. I got a recall for it. And I got in the room and I met Aisha Bywater's wonderful casting director, BAFTA-winning casting director, great director, and we had an incredible time, right? And I was definitely the wild card there. I didn't get the job. The guy who I saw, who's a member of Act On This, Toby, shout out to him, got the job, and he deserved it because he just suited it like a glove, and he's great, and I'm sure he's brilliant in the film, right? But it was so worth my while going, even though I was like, I'm probably not going to get this, but I'm going to give it my all anyway. You don't know exactly what they're looking for. Do the tape. Don't second guess people. Do the tape how you want to do it, and just let be what will be. And whatever happens, a casting director is going to see you, even if it's for the 20 seconds people are talking about. At least they've watched 20 seconds of you. Maybe you'll be right for the next thing. It can't all be like glass half empty mentality all the time. I'm getting so sick of this culture in our industry, and I'm fighting against it. You all here don't know how powerful you all are. Be optimistic. Be positive. I swear to God, better things will happen to you in your life if you show up in the world in a more positive light. It just will, right? It's just all I've experienced in my life. When I'm being negative and down and in the dumps, nothing good happens. When I'm being open to optimism and I'm open to opportunity, good things happen. So I'm going to play more clips.
2 times winning. 2 times BAFTA winning Aisha Bywater's.
Oh, it is now. Yeah. 2 times BAFTA winning Aisha, which is wonderful. Aisha's like a ray of sunshine, though. People in this industry that are doing well, folks, the sunshine's out of their face. Try. I know it's hard, but try your best to just live in some kind of gratitude for the fact that you get to do this and you don't have to do it. I know it sounds preachy, that, and you'll be like, but Ross, you don't understand, I'm having a really, really bad day. I get it, and I have days like that as well, really do, where I'm just like, sack this off completely. But try in those moments to kick yourself at the backside and go, no, hang on, let's look for some good in this situation. Let's be more positive, Let's not focus on the negative and dwell. Next clip, Simon Higgins, great casting director / casting associate. It's casting associate for Dan Hubbard and Olivia Scott Webb. They cast massive stuff. Dan does all Guy Ritchie's stuff. Olivia Scott Webb works on massive projects as well. Simon used to be an actor. Okay, so before he went to casting, for context, he used to be an actor. Listen to what he says about self-tapes and what they would have meant to him as an actor and what they now mean to him as a casting director. Let's take us off the screen, Petch, and play this. All right, Petch. Here we go.
Self-tapes, there's a lot of discussion about self-tapes, and I have a really strong opinion on this. A lot of really established casting directors, they've been running their businesses for a long time, and they talk about getting people back in the room and how vital it is, and I completely get that, and I completely agree with that. But I was an actor that could barely ever get in the room, and I felt like I had an ability and talent, and I'm gutted that I've missed the self-tape era as an actor, because it creates opportunity for people. We can see people that we might not have got in the room. How many people do you get in the room? Let's just call it like maybe 15 people in a day. That's 15 people, or I can send out 30 self-tapes. It's a good way of giving people all the opportunity, working out who the people are that have a genuine chance of getting this role, and then we get them in the room, whether it's just with casting or whether it's in with the director. I think self-tapes are brilliant. I know it's harder for like actors that are kind of got less kind of technical ability or experience, but I think self-tapes are here to stay and we need to get used to them.
Boom. Now Simon talks about 30 tapes there, right? That's the most I have ever heard of a casting director requesting for a role. So this 200 thing that we heard in that article before, regularly requesting more than 200, I think it's bollocks. I just don't think it's true. Or maybe inexperienced casting directors, who are, I don't know, doing their own stuff. I've no idea. There's no mainstream TV casting directors that I've ever, in 15 years of me interviewing them, I've done over nearly 1,000 interviews now. I've spoke at length for, getting on for 40,000 hours across the last 20 years. In this industry, not a single person has ever said, yeah, I asked for 200 self-tapes for one role. It's untenable. You can't get through 200 tapes. That's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, Simon's opinion there was, his opinion was like he wished they were around when he was an actor. It would have created way more opportunity. He couldn't get in the room. So you've got to weigh it up. What do you want? Do you want to have everything in the room and the potential to never be seen? Or do you want to go, you know what, I'm going to embrace tapes. I'm going to get better at the technical side of stuff, and I'll show you some stuff in a minute that'll help you with that. I'm going to, sort of like look at these more favorably. I'm going to master self-tapes, and then I'm going to be seen for loads of stuff that I might never get seen for otherwise. And you only need one of them to pop off. And you've won. I've got one final clip I'm going to play before we bring up Equity's guidelines on self-tapes as well, Petch. And this is from Karen Scully. Karen works with Louise Kiley, an incredible office over in Ireland. They cast things like massive shows, Normal People, The Dry. They're working on like 6 major projects literally right now. Rec? We were in Rec. Off a self-tape, Petch. One self-tape. And we didn't, I was exhausted that night, right? I didn't want to do that tape, right? Petch very kindly let me jump in on a self-tape he was already doing. People probably know this story already. But by the time we were doing that tape, mate, it was nearly midnight, wasn't it? And I was like, I don't know if I can do this, Petch. And you were like, come on, do it. Push me through. We did the tape. We got the job almost instantly the next day. And I wasn't even asked to tape for it. I just crowbarred myself in. emailed Louise. I was like, I hope I'm not breaking any protocol here, but like, I just thought we'd have a crack at this. See what you think. And then we got offered the job like the next day, and that was over £3,000 each. It was well worth the hour of time. Well, probably 90 minutes in the end, because we had to ring people and rope other people into reading for us, didn't we? But again, why would you not want to be in with a chance? I was like, I hadn't even asked to tape. Chances were, Louise could have said, forget that, Ross, not even watching it. You haven't even asked, mate. But I was prepared to put in the time, the effort at midnight to go, if there's a 1% chance, I'm in for this. Otherwise, what's the alternative? You know, you got, if you want it, you'll do it. Yeah, well, the alternative is just no job. Well, the alternative is no by default, isn't it? Yeah. Don't tape, Ross, you've not got the job. Tape, Ross, there's a chance you'll be in the mix.
It's like playing the lottery, isn't it?
Got to be in it to win.
If you want to win the lottery, you've got to buy a ticket. You've got to part with money to buy a ticket. Yeah, and the Euro Millions odds are 14 million to 1. I don't think Louise Carley was seeing 14 million self-tapes. I'm sure the Guardian will publish an article next week saying that she has. You'll never guess what. Jill Trevelyan, she asked for 15 million self-tapes for Downton Abbey. She didn't know, did she? That's funny. There's only 90,000 performers on Spotlight.
No, but you see, 15 million there, Petch. 15 million she asked for. Only got 90,000, but asked for 15 million. It's wild. So this clip is from Karen Scully. She's, again, so successful because sun shines out of her face. Such a beautiful personality. So helpful. Watch this clip. This is on her process when asking for self-tapes and what happens if you submit a tape that shows you have ability but isn't quite right for the job. This is the reality in most casting offices of what happens. The reality is not that article that we saw in The Guardian there. So let me get this lined up. Let's take us on the screen again, Petch.
We will put the roles that we are looking for up on Spotlight. Then what happens is the agents will make suggestions. We will save those suggestions and we will go through those suggestions and we will look at people's CVs and we will look at their reels and we will think, are they possibly right for this role? So then we will make a list of people that we want to invite to tape. We will send an invite to tape to those people. They will have ideally 4 days minimum anyway, but they will have then some time to look at the tape, send in their tape. We watch the tapes, we distill them and we send our top picks to the director and the producer. So not all the tapes go because that's our job, is to distill them because the director is doing 20 other jobs, so hasn't time to look at every casting tape. And as we do that, we very often ask people to retape, for instance, which I don't know if everybody's aware of. If I think you possibly are really right for this role, but you chose a certain direction, and I happen to know because I have all the scripts and more information that maybe you should have chosen this direction over here, I will contact your agent or you directly if you're not repped and say, Ross, we loved your tape, but he's not really angry, he's really sad. Can you give me a really sad version? And I think that's something maybe that actors don't realise is we can only do our job if we find good actors. And then when we find a good actor, I'm not going to waste an actor. If I see a tape and I go, oh, he's really good, but like, that is not the world we're in. But I'm not going to waste that actor. If you see actors making the same choices, it's because there's a problem with the writing. The feedback we were getting is, oh, they're not right, or they're all aggressive. And we're like, the scene's aggressive. We know these people. These are brilliant actors. But the scene is leading them to make this choice. And I don't blame them. So the note for Ross is his accent is perfect. That's exactly the world. But like, this character is not angry. He's a bit wide-eyed and enthusiastic. We know these actors. We know they're really good. And I'm not going to just go, oh, they didn't do a good tape. Not even they didn't do a good tape. They didn't do the tape we wanted. Well, they didn't because they didn't have the right information. So I think it's really open and it's, to me, shows how hardworking actors are and how eager. There was not one actor who was asked to retape who said no. But what I love is that they know that we're only working it out too. Obviously, we sent those sides in good faith thinking, oh, these are great sides. But again, we had so much more information. So we can't help but have that information. So we send the sides. We think they'll magically realize all the back information that we have. And then when we see these actors who we know are really good actors because we've seen them before, we've known them for years, and they do a tape in a certain direction, that's our fault. We know, feck it, actually. Now that I think of it, if you don't know that this character has been on this journey, of course you're going to think he's raging in the scene. Our job is to help the actors do a good job. That makes us look good.
Boom. So again, it just debunks everything in that article. They're not watching them. They don't care. You don't get direction. Honestly, and I don't blame anybody for reading that article in The Guardian. And if you're just joining now, by the way, watch the replay of this when we're finished. And just, thinking again that the industry is against them. I'm just so passionate about fighting this negative voice in this industry that's like, you can't do it, you can't. I'm seeing this in other parts of life as well. Like when it comes to the economy, you don't stand a chance unless your parents were millionaires. You might as well give up. It's just nonsense. Honest to God, don't believe this crap. If you want like genuine advice and real game-changing knowledge from the actual people who are doing these castings, the biggest casting directors in the game, it's not a sales pitch, but come and join Acts on This, because that's where you're going to get real information that's going to actually help you push your career forward way faster than reading this nonsense.
It's funny, isn't it? Like the people that share these kind of articles and things like that, they're the same people
aren't taping and aren't working.
No, not even that. They're the ones that talk about mental health and how mental health is, vital and you should be looking after it. When I read an article like that, I feel my energy drop. I feel my mental health just go.
This is why I'm so against it, because it's the same group of people who are all like, yeah, you've got to really look after yourself. We've got to be kind to each other. There's no kindness in spreading lies in an article like this. I'm not saying it all is. Of course, there'll be one-off anecdotal things where someone did get asked 200, for 200 tapes, or someone has done 50 tapes and not booked a single one, but that's not on the casting directors. I feel like I've just got to stick up for casting directors because I speak to them all the time and they're just lovely people. 99% of the time, they're just... People forget they're human beings as well. They're not robots. There's humans behind these casting offices, behind these, these auditions that these articles and things like that are slagging off. Like, you can't on one hand go, got to be kind to everybody, guys, look after your mental health, and then just hate on everything in the industry and just bring everybody down. It's crazy. So hopefully hearing some of that stuff today from the horse's mouth, so to speak, will alleviate some of the fears that you might have. Like, tapes are an incredible resource for you to capitalize on as actors. I'm just going to bring up Equity's self-tape guidelines again, just to show you a contradiction in this whole thing as well. Because on one hand, they're telling you that they're elitist and that they're soul-destroying and that they're unpaid labour. However, if I bring this up, self-tape and Zoom audition guidance, if we look in just the some of the opening paragraphs here, so... On a positive note, what has become more apparent is how self-tapes and Zoom auditions have given opportunities to artists that may not have otherwise been seen for certain roles, and to artists that might have difficulty attending physical auditions. What about the disabled? Should we just get rid of self-tapes because, like everybody who is non-disabled can get down to London and, jump into casting rooms and stuff like that? What if people can't and it's an absolute nightmare for them? Do they not count as well?
I'm sorry, but they were talking about the elitist stuff about self-tapes. What if you can't afford a train down to London, or a coach down to London, or a hotel down in London to stay the night before?
Yep. No, honestly, it's just like it's so... Like, I'm a big, advocate of having a decent union, but all I see coming out of Equity for the last year, again, is negative stuff that just... You're not looking after the people who are paying you. I give you over 200 quid a year, Equity or whatever it is. And if I read the stuff you're putting out, you're not empowering me or making me feel like this industry is with me and that I'm empowered and that I can do it. It makes me, I'm going to be honest, not want to pay. If Spotlight would bring out indemnity insurance, because the reason I really pay my Equity fees, one, I think you should support Equity if they support people lower down who are coming in at the industry. I'm a big believer in that. But the main reason, really, for me selfishly, would be that you get the 10 million indemnity insurance if you have an accident. It's like public liability. If we were out filming something in the public and someone fell over a tripod that I didn't realise had fallen over, and they sue me, then I'm insured, through Equity. But if Spotlight said, what, we're going to give you, we're going to give you indemnity insurance, I'd think about cancelling Equity the way that it's going. I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to do that. Equity, I pay, right? You can check. I do pay, and I will pay. But it's not empowering, is it? I want a union that builds me up, that makes me inspired, motivated, that says, you can do it, Ross. The industry is hard, of course it is. That's the reality of it. But you can do hard things.
Syra has just said on Instagram, sorry if I'm butchering your name there, Syra, I got my best job on a Zoom audition, so I didn't have to pay the train fare to Manchester from London.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. It's no, honestly, I've booked loads of jobs off tapes, basically. I think every job I did in the last 3 years has pretty much been booked off a tape. I had a couple of recalls, but it's generally all been off tapes. And hopefully this one that we did last night, I'll get. And again, that will be off a tape. I'll show you this. I've got a screenshot of it. I can't play it you because it's obviously it's a roll that's up for grabs. But I want to show people the kit list, Petch, because there'll be a lot of technophobes here who are like, hang on a minute, this is really difficult to do tapes that look good.
Oh, go on.
I was going to say this is just a screen grab, right? So I think this is a pretty good looking self tape, right? And this is shot in my tiny apartment. I don't have a big apartment. I've got a 2-bedroom apartment, and this is basically in my living room / kitchen. I know in Equity's guidelines they say you shouldn't have to move your house around. I'm sorry, it's just a reality. Unless you live in a mansion, you're gonna have to move a bit of furniture, folks, right?
You moved a table and 2 chairs.
I know, but according to Equity, I shouldn't have been able to do that, and that it's probably that's elitist. You're making him move furniture. I moved a table in 1 chair because I sat on 1 chair, Petch.
Yeah, that's true.
If you go over, so I think this looks pretty good. Basically, just a little breakdown. So we've got 2 lights shining on me from the front, right? We've got. Do you want to explain, Petch? Because you're the lighting master. You do this better than me. But we've got a key light and a fill light. Do you want to explain what it is?
So yeah, you've got a key light, which is your main light, which is lighting the left side of Ross's face as you're looking at him there. Screen right. Yeah, my left, but screen right. That was. Because you've invested in your career quite a lot, you have the option between a softbox and an LED. So the brightest light is that one that's lighting up that one. Then we've got on screen left a box light, which is called a fill light. That's just to fill in any shadows on his face and part of the background. Behind him, lighting the backdrop, just to really minimize those overpowering shadows that can come when you have lights like blasting directly at you. We've got a LED shining upwards. You can't see it there, but you can see it behind him and over the top.
It was a tenner.
Oh, yeah, a tenner. But that one, the £10 also includes the light that we've got over the top on a boom arm. Again, is just another small LED, and that's giving him his headlight or rim light, which gives him that little bit of a halo in his hairline there.
In the receding hairline. Gonna have a hair transplant one day. But yeah. So, and in terms of the kit, if you go to actonthis.tv / self-tape, I'll share that with you. actonthis.tv / self-tape. You will find this page here, right? Every kit that we just spoke about is available on this list here that you can get for free. Just put your email address and your name, and I'll send it you via email automatically. It's totally free. actonthis.tv / self-tape. And you will see the kit that we use, basically. I think I've still got to add that LED light onto that kit list, actually. It's probably not on there at the moment, but I will add that. We just started experimenting with that recently. But in total, that kit, I'm just going to add it up like on the fly now. You're probably looking at... So the LEDs were a tenner. The softbox that we use, which is like the brightest light, the fill light, is I think that was like 40 quid. So that's 50. The LED panel was 50, so that's 100. The mic I'm using was 45. And that's it. With backdrop, 30 quid. So 175 quid, right? Give or take, with inflation or whatever, 200 quid. And I get it, like I said at the start of this, that is a little chunk of change, right? But I guarantee you that tapes that look like this and sound as clear as this stand out probably above 8 out of 10 other tapes. And I'm not saying that's to be like, oh, we're just the best at taping. There are probably other people who do tapes that look better than this, but we've had directors on actonthis.tv. I did a job on Coronation Street last year, and we got the director on for a session, and we played out my self-tape. We played out my actual scene in Coronation Street, and Kev Boyle, who was the director, walked us through why he gave me the job. So we reverse engineered why he chose me. And one of the main things was that the tape looked great. He said it made me want to watch it. And it's not, what I'm saying is it's not dead expensive to make a great looking self-tape.
The other thing with this self-tape here in particular is, again, not going into what it's for or anything like that, but we've had the casting director of this show on, and they've explained exactly how they want self-tapes framing. So we framed it in the way that they say they want it framing, because it makes it look like every other in-the-room tape that they would do normally. So it doesn't look odd against all the other tapes that they're sending off.
Yeah, the casting director basically said, look, here's a description of our room. There's basically a grey wall like that. Here's how we normally frame it when we're in the room. So if we're going to put your self-tape alongside anything we've shot in the room, it'll just look the same, you know. So yeah, again, you'll get that information. If you join Act On This, come and get involved, folks. It'll cost you the price of a latte a week. And you'll actually get empowering information that will give you solutions as opposed to make you feel like shit. So, yeah, just wanted to show that. actonthis.tv/self-tape. Go check that out. But I'm just going to see what comments have we got, Petch? Got any comments on from YouTube or anything that we can bring up?
Just before we get to the comments, there's one thing that I wanted to bring up, because you were talking about you don't know any casting directors that have seen 200 tapes or anything like this.
Yeah.
There is a headline going around at the moment about adolescence, that brilliant Stephen Graham drama that's making the rounds. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. Go watch it. 4-parters. Each episode is a one shot. It's just superb.
And we had Robbie O'Neill on recently. There's a session with him in the members area. Robbie O'Neill, who's an actor in the show, and the director Phil Barantini. There's a full 2-hour podcast with him in the members area at actonthis.tv as well. Yeah, we know these guys.
So Stephen Graham has said countless times that the producers auditioned over 500 young boys for the part of Jamie. That's extremely rare. They were looking for a certain person for that role.
It happens with kids through workshops. That's why they get those numbers big. They go to drama clubs. This is what they do when they're casting kids. Because kids aren't on Spotlight and they don't have show reels and you can't go and search Spotlight for kids, what they do is they hold workshops with 30, 40 kids at a time. And they just look at the kids, doing the workshops at their local drama school, like little, like your weekend drama club. I think it was Drama Mob where they found Owen Cooper, a drama little club in Manchester. So they only need to do 10 of them, and there's your 400, 500 kids. So it makes it sound like they got 500 kids a tape. They didn't get 500 tapes. They just went and did workshops with drama clubs around the north, looking for the kids. So again, it's just headlines. We've got to stop reading headlines and jump into crazy conclusions. It's just not the case. There weren't 500 children doing a tape for Stephen Graham and Jack Thorne and Phil. They weren't. They went to the drama clubs. They found the kids that they liked, and they brought them in, and they got Robbie to read in. Well, not read in. They got Robbie to improv. Robbie O'Neill, this actor we've got an act on this. He was just on a couple of weeks ago talking about adolescence, and him and Phil played around, in the room. With these kids, and that's how they ended up finding Owen Cooper. But it's so rare. It only happens with children, that really.
So we're at 5 o'clock now. I'm just going to bomb through some of these comments. However, over on Instagram, Mel Brown, Spotlight Success Manager, has said, "Great live. We are looking forward to joining you for our session very soon."
Yes, Mel. So yeah, anyone who again, what I'll do, just dead quick while you're bringing comments up, Petch, I'll just show people the schedule of calls. I don't know if they're all on the site at the moment, but if you go, folks, to actonthis.tv/live, you can see the calls that are coming up. There's over 100 recordings of calls already in the members area with the biggest names in the game that you'll get instant access to today if you joined us. And like I say, it's dirt cheap as well. It's so affordable. Try and keep it as accessible as possible. If just buy one less latte a week, you'll be able to afford this. And this is the schedule. So yeah, we were right, Patch, 7 days. So Thursday, cool. We've got top commercial casting director Jade McCabe joining us with her casting assistant Josh Allcroft, who is a member of actonthis.tv. Jade's casting 5 adverts at the moment, so we're going to dive into commercials, particularly some decent money in commercials. Jade's recently cast commercials for Porsche, Disney, Puma, Adidas, big brands, Man City. Boo, I know you don't like Man City, Patch. Nope. This doesn't sound like a sexy session, but I bring Glyn Jelly on from Summit Chartered Accountants every April at the start of a new tax year, because the one thing that actors tell me they don't have enough of is money. Now, if you are an actor and you are not self-employed, you are leaving a few £100s a year on the table minimum by not being registered self-employed, even if you are earning nothing from your acting career. If you literally only lose money from your acting career right now because you bought an Act On This membership, you go to acting classes, you bought headshots, a show reel scene, maybe you spent £1,000 this year, so you're minus £1,000. If you register yourself as self-employed, and Glyn, we're going to talk all about this on this session with him, you can claim that minus £1,000 back off your pay-as-you-earn income tax from your normal job. The government don't want you to know that because they want to keep all of your money.
Just whilst we're here as well, Spotlight is tax deductible, equity isn't.
Yeah, Spotlight's tax deductible, equity it's not. And equity put their prices up because they forgot to renew their insurance. It's true. As far as I know, allegedly, right? I'm going to say this. I'm going to caveat this. Allegedly. I don't know this to be true, but the reason your equity subs went up, allegedly, is because equity, unfortunately, it was a bit of negligence. They forgot to renew their insurance, so their old broker, who was giving them the same deal year after year after year, cancelled it, and then they renewed the policy. It had to be at a new price. So again, throwing stones at glass houses, man. Got to just like, I don't want to come in here and just slate equity all the time, because like genuinely, I want to be like, I would love them to be amazing, and like, and I mean this all with like, you know, a bit of tongue in cheek. It's just a bit of a razz, isn't it? You know, but I just wish we could all be a bit more harmonious and just be a bit more positive and just stop like, you know, equity's attacking Spotlight. It's just, I don't like it. Spotlight, here, Mel. Spotlight Surgery Live happening the week after that, Tuesday the 29th of April. Mel Brown, absolute legend, Spotlight Senior Success Manager, will be with us for our Spotlight Surgery Live. This is like the third one of these that we've done. And what we're going to do, we're going to basically bring up members spotlights, and we're going to do a surgery on them. We're going to basically critique them, see what we can improve, see how we can, you know, really pimp out your profile so that it stands out to casting directors and agents that you're sending it to. Really, really in-depth session. You know, if you're not profiting from your Spotlight profile right now, that can be easily fixed. Again, like a lot of people want to complain because like, I pay my Spotlight subscription, I don't earn any money back. One job on Medical Roleplay a year would pay for your Spotlight instantly. Like, if you're not profiting from your profile, we can fix that. Like, really quite quickly if you put the work in. Honest to God, you should be getting a return. You should be getting, a minimum of 20 times your fees back a year if you're serious about this. And that would only require 2 decent jobs a year. One job every 6 months. You get a 20x return on your Spotlight. I'll show you how to do it on that session. And then we've got Showreel Surgery Live the week after, where we do the same thing, but with people's showreels. So we're going to bring Chris Stone on, in my opinion, the best showreel producer in the UK. Chris is going to critique member showreels. We're going to help you basically create your best showreel ever for 2025. Couple that with your Spotlight, you're going to have a banging year. If you then, you know, join our casting director calls and then get your Spotlight over with your banging showreel to the casting directors that we get on. And you can do that all without an agent. We've got loads of other people coming on, though. Loads of great names. I won't spoil it for you now. But every single week this year, we will sit down with one of the biggest casting directors, agents, actors, writers, directors, or producers in the game. So, Mel, if you're still on the live, cannot bloody wait to catch up with you. Yeah, honestly, that's going to be a really, really cool session.
So quickly, because I am going to have to leave soon because I'm off to JB Shorts tonight, but Amy Roxon on Instagram has said, watching mainly on YouTube, jumped over to Instagram just to say many of us weren't getting into the room. Self-tapes are invaluable.
I love it. Love it, Amy. Excellent. Oh, and Mel says here that young performers, are searchable on Spotlight. So, there might not be a load of kids out there that are on Spotlight, but those that are, absolutely are searchable. And Mel says, it's just an attention-grabbing headline. It is. Honestly, it's just all sensationalized. I just see it and go on.
Because, like I said, I'm going to have to go on there. I'm going.
Sorry, Petch. Yeah, go on.
John has said, just started doing self-tapes with no reader and using imagination for the reader and adding the scene partner in as part of the edit. Found it made my self-tapes way better.
John, I know an Oscar-winning actress personally who has done that her entire career. She won't have a reader read in with her because she thinks she performs better on her own, and she adds in the other lines. It's quite a skill because you've got to leave the right amount of gap without leaving too much or too little. But she has booked job after job after job after job. Lee Boardman does it as well. Great actor. Yeah. So if you can do that, John, it works, mate. Good for you.
Deb Danes, casting directors want to find the right fit, bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. They're with us. They're not against us.
And to finish off with 2 quick questions, Greg has said, really enjoying this, but how do we know what jobs there are to tape for and where to send them?
So a few places if you want to actually look for auditions. One, obviously, Spotlight. We mentioned that, but there are other sites out there. If you can't get on Spotlight yet, they have a very small joining criteria now. It's nowhere near as much as it used to be. You can find out about that on Spotlight. But there are other sites out there, casting networks. There's Mandy. There's Facebook groups. It doesn't really matter knowing what people are casting, Greg. So we bring casting directors on every week, and there's no way, because of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements and stuff, there's no way that you'll ever know what's going down in those offices exactly. But it's still worth your while as long as you've got your Spotlight profile together or a profile online that people can access and a great show reel, it's worth you personally writing via email and introducing yourself to everybody in the office in a very solutions-focused way that shows you know this industry, you know how it works. There's loads of members of Act On This.tv who do that every time we get a casting director on, and they end up with self-tapes and jobs off their own back. Like Tammy, who's here on this live today, she sent a message to a casting director yesterday, a big casting director as well. She's put there in the chat who it was, but she sent it yesterday, and she's got a self-tape today, and it's for one of the biggest casting directors in the game. And that's all off her own back. So yeah, you can do it without an agent, Greg, or if you're not on Spotlight yet or anything like that. But you need to know who these people are. If you join Act On This, we'll tell you every single week. We've got a database of all of them and everybody's email addresses.
And Yvonne has said, recently posted voice stuff because I heard a casting person say they wanted to see, not just hear you doing the accent. What do you think about that?
So recently posted voice. So I think it's very, very valuable to have voice clips on your Spotlight profile, so that people can hear your accents. If you say you're proficient at a Scottish accent, don't just have it on your Spotlight profile, in writing. Actually have a clip up there. I think that's really, really useful. I've not heard people say that they need to necessarily see you doing the accent. If you've got a showreel on there and they can see you walking and talking in any accent, that's really all they need to see. It doesn't really matter. But then if they can hear you doing other accents, that's really all that's available. If you've got multiple scenes in different accents, put them on your showreel. But be careful, though. Don't ever start a showreel off in an accent that's not yours, because then you could confuse people if they're looking for a native English speaking person that's from Manchester, and you open doing a Russian accent. It's gonna confuse people. They're gonna go, oh, hang on a minute, I've clicked on the wrong thing here. But yeah, you can do that, Yvonne.
I was going to say, I don't see any harm in doing a self-tape, because you get 20 minutes worth of video footage now on Spotlight of doing self-tapes, and you labeling it what accent you're doing. That way it does kind of take out the guesswork of, is that actually that person doing that accent, or is it somebody else? And when you come in and you don't hit the accent in the room, like, it takes away all that kind of thing. But
yeah, that's a good point, actually. You do have a good point, Yvonne, as well, actually, to a certain extent, because there is sometimes physical mannerisms that almost you associate with certain accents from around the world, or the way that people are more animated depending on you. So sometimes embodying an accent physically could sell it potentially better as well. So I think there probably is merit in that, doing it as a self-tape but labeling it. But if you can't do that, voice clips alone are really useful as well.
And just before we go, Benedict's put in something that I really agree with. He's put, self-tapes are a must for me. I live in Clacton, and fitting live auditions in London in between night shifts is a pain and exhausting. However, I do think some commercial auditions really take the pee with their expectations. Benedict,
I agree as well. Yeah, I'm with you on that as well. So the only thing, we're going to talk about commercials with Jade next week, and I don't think she does her briefs that go out. You did a tape for her recently, Petch. It was very straightforward, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
But we have seen, and Petch has experienced this, I don't do a lot of commercial castings these days, but we have seen stuff where they go, right, we want these 5 scenes in 2 different ways. And I just think, oh my God, it's so overkill. I think, yeah. So, drama, comedy, generally a joy. Even if it's 6 pages, you should really relish the chance to do that. Some of the commercial ones, I think they could do in 2 takes, and they want you to provide 10. Yeah, with you on that one. Swings and roundabouts there. Amazing. Well, I hope you found this useful, folks. Hope it's sort of like G'd you up a little bit, giving you a bit of positivity. That's what we're all about. We're really here to support you with the actual facts every single week. If you want to hang out with the movers and shakers in the industry, the biggest casting directors, agents, actors, writers, directors, and producers in the game, do come and check us out. actonthis.tv. There is something we're giving away for free at the moment. If you want to just try some content out for nothing, if you go to actonthis.tv/taster, I know you've got to go, Petch, but I'm just going to show them this. actonthis.tv/taster. We're giving away. Hang on.
Oh, he's rushing. He's panicking. He's panicking.
I'm just aware you've got to go. actonthis.tv/taster. Let's bring this up. You can go get a bundle. You can get 6 hours of free coaching. And again, this is like, from the biggest names in the game. There's coaching on here from casting directors like Kelly Valentine Hendry, BAFTA-nominated casting director now. She cast Rivals, Bridgerton. Great agents like Natalie Payne from Payne Management. Showreel producer Chris Stone. Basically, it's a 3-day little package. We'll send you one of these features a day for free, once a day for 3 days. There's a task involved in it. We will help you. There's inside this membership here. It's totally free. No card required. Totally free. No strings attached. attached. We will get you to complete a little task. Me and Petch will jump in and help you even further. But if you want to create your best show reel ever, know how to land an absolutely brilliant top agent, and get in front of the biggest casting directors in the game, go and get this for free. actonthis.tv/taster, TASTER, taster. Completely free. Go grab that. And just come and check out the main membership, actonthis.tv. I'd love to see you on one of our live calls each week. And to finish, Petch, I'm going to play out the trailer for the call that we had this week, because we had voiceover man, Mr. Peter Dixon, on, one of my favourite people in the industry. Voiceover's been a huge part of my life. It is very lucrative if you stick at it and you work hard at it as you would do your acting career. I want to get more and more people into voiceover this year. I think it's the unlock for many people to have a sustainable career. If you're an actor, you've already got a lot of the skills required. And we had a great session in the members area.
Though, even though there was 2 voiceover actors on that call, you and Peter, it was one of the hardest ones that I had to subtitle.
Yeah, because we talk so fast. When I'm doing a voiceover, I don't. If I was going, Subway, eat fresh, it would sound very clear. But yeah, when I'm talking like this, I know you've got to go. I'm being rapid. But yeah, this is a brilliant session. Please go and watch it. If you want to get into voiceover, this is absolutely game-changing for you. It's 2 hours with the most famous voice in the country, I would say. I'd put my money on that. And it's just really entertaining as well. We also clone my voice. We do some AI. We show you how AI is not coming to take over your career. That's another headline-grabbing bullshit thing that people will sell you. Stop being so negative, industry. Let's make positivity louder. Right, we're going to go, Petch. We're going to say the immortal words for everybody. We'll say the catchphrase. But thank you, folks. Do come and join us at actonthis.tv. Love to you all. Get out there and be happy, and we'll speak to you soon. Until next time, Petch, you know what time it is. 3, 2, 1.
Bye
for now. Nice. Let's take us off the screen and play this bad boy out. See you later, folks. He is probably the most famous voice in the country, with over 30,000 adverts under his belt. He was the unmistakable voice of the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent for more than a decade. It's voiceover man, Peter Dixon. Peter, it's so good to have you back on Act On This, mate. How are you?
Great, thank you very much. What an intro.
Tonight, we are going to dive deep into the £4 billion industry that is voiceover. We're going to walk you through the kind of work that's out there right now, how you can develop the skills to get a piece of it, home studios, voice reels, AI, and so much more.
It's time to face the music!
The prerequisite skills required for voiceover.
If you've trained as an actor or you've had acting experience, then you have, depending on your level of experience, 70% of the way there, you'll have the skill sets to be able to look at a piece of copy, interpret it, and then deliver it as a vocal performance.
Home studios, Peter. A mic in my wardrobe, my laptop on my bed. That studio's earned me over 16 grand in the last month.
Any microphone that's probably anything above £200 is going to be okay.
We're going to listen to your voice reel.
Save money at Money's Supermarket and feel...
Give it to me, I'm worth it.
Epic! Your first thing has to really catch their attention.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about agents.
It's very difficult to negotiate on your own behalf. That's what I'm saying. An agent will have no trouble asking for 16.5 grand for Ross Grant in his wardrobe, whereas Ross Grant may not feel able to.
I want to cover artificial intelligence, AI.
AI voices currently are nowhere near good enough for animation, nowhere near good enough for the jobs that require what we call acting chops.
I clone my voice. Shall we see if it can fool you all? Hey everybody, this is my first voice clone. What do you think? Does it sound like me? Does it sound natural enough? Gravyforthebrain.com. Peter's worldwide voiceover training company now.
Voiceover for beginners, how to voice commercials. You have a place in this industry and you can do it. Your voice is good enough.